Hello and welcome. I'm Dan, and this is the first video in a series I like to call All Devices Are Instruments. We're going to talk about pedals, we're going to talk about how the guitar interacts with guitar pedals, we're going to talk about spring reverb, we're going to get into a couple different versions of devices that we use with the guitar and see if we can't engage with using them in a more creative and fluid way than just I step on this pedal and now I have distortion, or I step on this pedal and now there's delay. We're going to go deeper than that and start looking at how we can play our pedals either from the guitar itself, how we approach the instrument, or we control the sound from the controls in the guitar, or just getting down there, tweaking pedals, playing with expression pedals, all these kind of things, so that we create a more animated and kind of amorphous and flowing sound. And I think it's just sort of a mindset, an approach to every device in our signal chain that says this thing, this fuzz box, is not just a device that has a binary state. It's either on or off. There's shades to be found, to be coaxed out of this thing. So that's what we're going to get into in this series. And today, in this video, I'm going to show you two different fuzz pedals that react quite differently to tweaks of the volume knob. The way I have my chain set up right now is that I go from the guitar into the first series of pedals that I have here on the floor in my slightly disorganized non-pedal board setup that I use here at home. And it goes to a filter pedal, which we'll get into in another video in this series. And right now I have two fuzzes before the volume pedal. The reason I do this is I want to be able to control the behavior of the fuzz pedals from my volume knob and control the overall volume from the volume pedal, which sort of allows me to get the tone that I want from the volume knob and set it at the appropriate level for whatever's going on musically with the volume pedal. So I could have a full out raging fuzz thing and fade it up as just sort of a dark undercurrent underneath the music if that's what I wanted, or I could be barely hitting the fuzz pedal with the signal from my guitar but have it be quite loud coming out of the amp. So let's look at two different pedals and how they interact with our volume knob and how we might use that in a playing context. Today I'm playing my trusty Ronin Mirari through my Benson amps Dizzy Bird, which is a 1 watt amp and reverb. It's a really cool little guy. And I'm drinking my coffee out of this. Let's listen to the clean sound. Not exactly a clean sound, but that's as clean as it's going to get. Let's start with the basic audio fuzz mutant, this lovely greenish pedal right here. It is a really great sounding fuzz. It has a gating function that we'll exploit a little bit, and let's just dive in and start listening to it. Here's what it sounds like full on. All right, check out what happens if I start to turn down the guitar volume a little bit. the gate starts to clamp a little bit more. We get a little bit less sustain, and it actually creates a bit more of a synthy sort of sound. So let's just see what happens if we do another degree of turning down the volume. Even a little bit more. So I dig this sound. I love having this sort of range of full-on fuzz to that really gated, almost Nintendo-y sounding thing. It even changes based on what range of the guitar you're playing in. So what's great about that, I'm going to turn up the level a little bit so that that really tiny gated sound comes through more clearly, is now I have this really interesting control of the fuzz sound right from the volume knob on my guitar. That, in combination with tweaking the tone control in the guitar, creates a really interesting dynamic sound where you can go from that sort of jagged and sputtery fuzz sound to something that's really full on. There's a lot of, I think, emotional potential there for music, and also just making it more of a versatile sound in general. There's a lot of scenarios that I'm in improvising groups, or I don't know, where I'm trying to create something unusual, creating a unique sound. So being able to have that like weird, almost 8-bit sounding effect, it's a cool thing to be able to access, and I can do all of that without having to touch anything on the pedal. It's interesting too, you have to sort of adapt your playing to the sound that's coming out. I have to be fairly intentional when the guitar volume is just barely cracked and I'm getting that really gated effect out of the fuzz pedal. I gotta really mean what I'm saying, especially with my right hand. Now I'm sort of muting on the bridge with the meat of my hand and finger picking these lines and picking fairly hard in order to get each note to pop through the gate. you can hear, there's a lot of musical possibilities with that. Again, haven't touched one knob on the thing. It's just deriving all those different sounds from my volume control. All right, let's look at a very different sounding fuzz pedal. We're going to turn off the Fuzz Mutant, and we're going to explore this guy right here. This is a Trombetta Tornita, a fuzz pedal that David Torn co-designed with Paul Trombetta. It's an interesting beast. It does not have a gain control. So it's basically intended to be controlled from the volume knob of your guitar, and it behaves really differently from the Fuzz Mutant. So let's check it out. Here it is on full blast. Pretty thick, gnarly. It's got like a cool grind, but listen to what happens to the sound when I turn down my volume control. Interestingly, it cleans up almost like a distorted amp. It behaves a little bit like an amp that's set for distortion but responds well to the volume being turned down. Almost like a preamp that adds a bit of a brightening effect to the guitar. Really dynamic, really interesting. You can leave this on and play long passages just going back and forth between the slightly fuzzed out sound and the really fuzzed out sound. So I think you can hear that there's a lot of opportunity to explore the sounds even without turning any knobs on the pedals. And then you get into a whole new world of tweaking that kind of stuff. But if we start to think of our fuzz pedals as these very dynamic and vibrant devices rather than something that just you turn on and it becomes the wall of fuzz, there's opportunities for expression here that often go unexplored. So toy around with it. And as a bonus, if you have a pedal like the Trombetta or the kind of granddaddy of super freaked out modern fuzz pedals, the Fuzz Factory, many of them have a self-oscillating feature that you can control from your volume knob. That's a real opportunity for some sonic destruction. This one has another state that we can turn on. What I like to do is try to tune it to a pitch that is in the key that I'm playing in, and then kind of fight to cut through that self-oscillation with the guitar can create some really interesting effects. The fastest way to get fired from your cover gig. Yeah, it's a great opportunity to create some really interesting and unique sounds. And I find that even having access to something as weird as this can be used, I don't know, if I add a bunch of reverb to a sound and I kind of control this with my volume knob but fade it in and out with my volume pedal, you can create some really interesting textures. I captured a little bit of it in my looper pedal. Yeah, it's a great source of inspiration and something that sometimes I just flip it on and see what happens in order to escape from something that's happening musically and create a new texture and a new event. So, yeah, mess around with your volume knob. Try different settings on your pedals, experiment with how the two things interact, and try morphing those sounds in real time from your volume knob and see if you can't create some new expressive thing out of that. It's really fun. And come back for the next video, which is going to be all about tweaking knobs and expression pedals in real time to create expressive and animated effects on the guitar. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below or email me at hello@danphelps.com. I'd love to answer your questions, hear your feedback, offer any help that I can. And be sure to visit danphelps.com where you can find my free mini course called Grow as a Guitar Player in 15 Minutes a Day, and more information about my mega course, Guitar Speak. So thanks a bunch. See you soon.